This is Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash. Our weekly chat with the Gibson Southern Titan head football coach is brought to you by these underwriting sponsors: A&B Contracting, A&T Concrete Supply, AgriGold, Gerald and Trudy Bledsoe, Hearts Gone Wild, Consolidated Grain and Barge, Cox Family Eye Care, Deaconess Women's Hospital, DuBois County Garage Doors Incorporated, Freudenberg Mini Mart, Hobstadt Summerfest Incorporated, in memory of Darwin and Eric Kalis, Jackson Seed Service, JL Farm Equipment, Kiesel Enterprises, Kissel Farms, Lewis Plumbing and Heating, Lowry Company, Marshall Disposal, Mayflower Gardens and Gifts, MyTech Systems, Pole Concrete Construction, Princeton Auto Park, Pro Rehab, Reinbrecht Homes, Rusty Reeves FC Tucker MD Realtors, Sandy's Pizza, Shoe Carnival, South Gibson Grain, T. Konya Distributing, 10 Barge Seed and Turfgrass Supplies, Total Seed Solutions, United Fidelity Bank, VFW Post 2714, Vertical Tile, and by Ziliak Enterprises. Titans football with head coach Nick Hart starts now on 89.1 The Bash.
Welcome to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart. I am Bob Bowser, and joining me is head coach Nick Hart. And coach, your Titans finished the season 9-1 overall after falling to Evansville Memorial in the first round of sectional play on Friday night. So let's take a look at the scoring plays and some of the team and individual stats from the ball game, starting off here with the scoring rundown. In the first quarter, with 2 minutes and 38 seconds remaining in that quarter, Michael Lindauer completed a pass to Branson Combs for 35 yards. The two-point conversion run by Max Goodwin was good, putting Memorial on top 8-0. Then in the second quarter, Chandler McKee ran it in from 1 yard out. Chandler McKee, the two-point conversion pass was no good, and that puts it now Memorial 8, the Gibson Southern Titans 6. And then in the second quarter, with 9 minutes and 4 seconds remaining before half, Michael Lindauer completed a pass to Branson Combs again for 13 yards. The point after kick by Toby Shaw is good. Memorial on top 15-6. Then with 1:52 remaining before half, Michael Lindauer completed another pass to Matt Kiesel for 21 yards. Point after kick by Toby Shaw is good. Memorial leads at halftime 22-6. Then in the third quarter, Memorial got on the board first with 3 minutes and 9 seconds remaining in the quarter. Lindauer completed a pass to Matt Kiesel for 18 yards. The point after kick by Toby Shaw is good. Memorial now is on top 29-6. But the Titans come right back in the third quarter with 1:50 remaining. Dylan Stefanich ran it in from 5 yards out. The two-point conversion run by Chandler McKee is good, and now the Titans are back to within 29-14. And then also in the third quarter, with 57 seconds remaining in the quarter, Chandler McKee pass is completed to Wes Obermeyer for 29 yards. The point after kick by Chandler McKee is no good, and that leaves the score at 29-20 going into the fourth quarter. No scoring in the fourth quarter, and that's our final for this sectional ball game of 29-20. The Titans fall to Evansville Memorial in a ball game, Coach, that I tell you what, the kids gave everything that they had in that ball game and then some. An outstanding crowd on hand at home, and I tell you, the kids can be proud of the effort that they gave.
Absolutely, and I think as a coach, it's always very rough whenever the season comes to an end. But this is probably the best I've dealt with one in a long time, just because I'm so proud of the way we competed on Friday night. And you look at it, we're down 29-6. Your starting quarterback that hasn't played, or the kid that was by far our leading tackler, didn't play. And I think when it got to that point, a lot of teams, 99% of the teams in the country probably would have got the doors blown off of them and lost by 40 points. And our kids continued to fight and compete, and we cut it to 9 and had a couple chances, to cut into that even more. So I couldn't be more proud of the way we faced a lot of adversity, and our kids just continued to to play as hard as they could and compete and try and find a way to win the ball game.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the team stats from this ball game, and I'm going to have to tell you, looking at these team stats that you've provided to me, it's really kind of a shocker, an eye-opener to look at it, because throughout that entire first half, it just seemed like Memorial had the football all the time, but total offense, the Tigers, they had 398 yards. Your Gibson Southern Titans had 449 yards. And I guess one way to look at it, Memorial had some short fields to work with, while your Titans had to work long lengths of the field each time on a drive.
Yeah, we had I think really kind of when you look at the difference in the ball game is they had two of their touchdown passes came on 4th and 7 or 8. I think one of them was even 4th and 10. And we had, multiple times we got inside the 35-yard line and, weren't able to finish the drive and come away with points. And I think ultimately, if we make a couple of those plays and stop them on a couple of their 4th down plays, the game probably swings. And, really I think that's kind of the difference in the game.
All right, so let's look at the passing stats here. Memorial had 222 yards of passing, while your Titans had 203 yards of passing. Rushing-wise, it was 176 yards rushing for Memorial, 246 for the Titans. And right there, that tells me quite a bit about the offensive line for the Titans and the running game, 246 yards against a very strong Memorial team.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's run for 246 on them all year. And to be honest, we had to throw a little bit more than what we wanted to just because, getting behind and stuff. I thought our running game, and our offensive line did a really good job on Friday.
Looking at the penalty yards for both ball clubs, Memorial had 10 penalties for 90 yards, while your Titans played a very clean ball game, 4 penalties for just 40 yards. And then turnover-wise, Memorial had 1, and your Titans had 3. And we've talked all season long, turnovers, those can really change a ball game. And in this case, 3 turnovers, that really changed the name of this tune.
Yeah, it did. I think, when you got two teams that are of, close to equal talent, turnovers and big plays, statistically is, what's going to be the difference. And, they won the turnover battle and probably the big play battle, too, on some of their pass plays and stuff. So, that certainly gave them an edge.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the individual statistics here. Chandler McKee, in his first full start as quarterback, 16 for 34, 203 yards, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions. Chandler come in, he's played a half of football before having to go up against the Memorial Tigers, the other toughest team. The top 2 teams were playing each other, which still has me not happy. And I'll rant about that for a long time, but we'll get over it eventually, come about 10 years from now. But 16 for 34, that's a pretty good night for a young man that has been on the other end of that. He's been the one receiving the passes instead of having to distribute the football.
You can't say enough about him, and I think one of the key things about that is, too, he came in and did that, and we're taking away one of our top receivers and putting him at quarterback. And that makes his job tougher as well. And like I said, we didn't want to throw it 34 times. That wasn't really fair to him. But he competed his butt off and gave us a chance to win the game. He got hurt in the first half and continued to play and compete. And if the trainer hadn't said anything to me, I wouldn't have even known that he was hurt. It's just the type of kid he was. And I don't know if I've ever seen somebody. With what he did in the last game and a half, come in and play the way he did.
All right, and then on the ground, rushing-wise, Chandler McKee had 30 carries for 157 yards and a touchdown. Dylan Stefanich had 18 carries for 89 yards and a touchdown. And then Caleb Carpenter had 5 carries, did not come away with any yards, but there were some plays that were very positive for him. Then there were some plays that weren't, hence why we have the 0 yards. But I tell you, Chandler McKee and Dylan Stefanich on the ground getting the job done.
Yeah, did a great job. I thought Dylan ran the ball really, really well, and our offensive line did a great job of blocking for him.
Well, and then on the receiving end of the passing game, Wes Obermeyer had 5 receptions for 81 yards and a touchdown. Nick Maurer had 4 receptions for 58 yards. Caleb Carpenter had 4 receptions for 47 yards. And Dawson Witt had 3 receptions for 17 yards. So, again, the receiving core there, the core of it, when you look at Obermeyer and Maurer, and I'm telling you right now, please, please, please don't put a 43 and an 83 out there on the field again that are about the same height. Makes it hard on this old guy with some poor eyesight.
I thought those guys did a great job of competing for the ball all night. I know Nick had a big catch off of a deflection. Wes had a tremendous catch on the touchdown. But those guys did a wonderful job all night. I know our whole receiving core would like to have a few back where we had some opportunities at some balls, but overall they played really well and for the season, had a phenomenal season.
All right, so let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll get your overall thoughts from the sectional game concerning the offense, defense, and special teams. But right now, we need to thank some of the underwriters of Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash.
You're listening to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash. Tonight's show is brought to you by the following underwriting sponsors: A&B Contracting, Best One Tire, Gerald and Trudy Bledsoe, Cox Family Eye Care, Freudenberg Mini Mart, Jackson Seed Service, Kissel Farms, Marshall Disposal, Pole Concrete Construction, Sandy's Pizza, T. Konya Distributing, United Fidelity Bank, and by Vertical Tile. Looking for a job in agriculture? Then Wabash Valley College is the place for you. We have courses that can help prepare students for careers in farms and other ag-related occupations, including ag sales, marketing, and mid-management positions at ag suppliers. Our programs have great instructors to help you get to where you want to be. For more information, call WVC today at 618-262-8641 or visit www.iecc.edu/WVC.
Thank you for tuning in to 89.1 The Bash for Titans football with head coach Nick Hart. All right, Coach, let's start with your thoughts. First off, with the offense against Memorial.
Offensively, I thought, when you look at the raw stats and, 449 yards offense and we ran over 80 plays, which is, always a goal of ours when we're playing a full game is to get as many plays as we possibly can. All of that was phenomenal, especially with Isaac out and, essentially Chandler out because now he's got to become the quarterback. I thought we performed very, very well. Obviously we would have liked to have converted some of our drives that came up empty. There's one right before half. I know we got inside the 35, and then a couple in the fourth quarter where we were putting together a drive and we're unable to score. So obviously we wish we could have finished those drives, but they have a very good defense. And credit them; they did a good job of playing some bend but don't break type of defense against us, and to put up and have the night we did under the circumstances and against a great defense. Again, kind of going back to the whole team thing, I was just really proud of the way our kids competed all night.
Well, and looking at it as well, from my vantage point, especially after seeing the stats and so forth and being able to sit back, hindsight's always 20/20. But when you look at it, and right there at in the second quarter, when you're down 8-0, and this is more on the special team side of things, we jumped off sides, gave them an opportunity to go for two instead of kicking it, and then when we scored, then you feel like you're almost obligated to go for the 2 points there, and we didn't come up with that 2 points. Then later in the game, we scored again, and for various reasons, we weren't able to get it takes a lot of things to get that extra point through. And when it comes to a snap and a hold, you've got to be able to have the tee out there, the whole 9 yards. That whole play was just botched from the beginning. But those are points that were left out there on the field that later on in the game, when you're down 9 and the team's moving, they're trying to move at a breakneck pace because they know they're down 2 scores.
Right.
And you don't want to run out of time. But if we could have really taken care of business back on those extra points, boy, that would have put us within a score. And now maybe that puts a little different slant on play calling and everything.
Yeah, obviously, absolutely it would have. And, all those things, in a close ball game are going to add up. And, it just comes down to, when you get in a tight ball game like that, one team made, a couple more plays, than the other. Another one that kind of sticks out is, we have 4th and 4, or they had 4th and 4 at around the 45. They were going to punt to us, and we end up jumping off sides, and causing that. We have interception that we get called for pass interference for. If we maybe get there a tenth of a second later, it's not called and we get an interception. There's a lot of those ifs and buts, but you got to credit them for making those plays, and again, our kids for just we made a lot of plays too, just to continue to claw and fight and try and get back in the ball game.
Well, and you did, and let's go. We've talked a little bit about the defensive side here already. Let's talk a little bit about that defense. In the first quarter of play, they found themselves with their back against the wall basically that entire first quarter, and they only gave up the one touchdown. And they even had some short Memorial. That is the they. Memorial had some short fields, and the defense come out there and stepped it up big time. The defense, I thought, really played well.
I thought they did too. You don't want to give up 400 yards and 29 points, ever. But
it was only 29 points.
It was, and I thought they did an exceptional job. And again, I thought Luke Miller and Garrett Martin both stepped up in the absence of Trace Matzel and other guys around them. And their kids made a lot of plays too. I mean I mean this with all the respect in the world. Their quarterback's a lot better than I thought he was. And when I say I mean that with respect, I thought he was good. But he came around in that first half. He slung the ball around and made some incredible throws. And both of their throws on fourth down when they ended up scoring on. He dropped dimes on those, and him and their receivers, came up with a lot of big plays. And so I know I wish our DBs, wish they had a couple of them back. You got to credit a team like Memorial because they stepped up and made plays. And again, so did our defense. They caused when we make it 29-14, they caused the fumble. Then we score right back, quick to make it 29-20. And then we actually caused a fumble on the very next play again, and just weren't able to fall on it. And that would have been a big play if we would have been able to get on that one. But I was proud of our defense because I think when you look at the whole team thing, especially them, we made some big stops early. Then their offense kind of got rolling a little bit and put up 22 in the first half, and they score on the first drive of the second half to make it 29-6. And then we really settled in defensively and pitched a shutout the rest of the game. So again, it would have been easy to quit when Memorial kind of got rolling there, but our defense continued to compete and find a way to get stops.
Well, and I know on the defensive side also, when I was looking at it, two things I've got in mind here that we can talk about is in the rushing game. I just rechecked the stats here for Irvin, and he had 173 yards on the ground. And if you're just reading it from the newspaper standpoint, you're like, holy cow, they didn't stop him. But in all honesty, he had some big runs at times, but they still weren't able to capitalize upon those runs. And for most of the night, the defense, I thought, did a very good job of having him bottled up. And he's a tough he looks like Barry Sanders from up where I was sitting.
He's a very good running back, and their offensive line's very good. They got great size on their offensive line, and I really did. I thought, and he earned the yards that he got, but and we gave up. We let him pop a couple that, I wish we hadn't, but you take away those couple of pops that he had, and I thought we did a great job against their running game and keeping that in check most of the night.
Well, and the other thing that I was thinking on the defense, and all weekend long, I'm sitting down there in Owensboro thinking about this. I'm like, man, if we could have just got Lindauer off of his spot, young quarterback, and like you said, he's good. Mm-hmm. And the difference sometimes between a really good quarterback and just your average high school varsity quarterback, an average high school varsity quarterback is still going to miss his spots at times, even when they're not pushed off the spot. So if we could have got some pressure on him, maybe that changes a few of those throws, and now he has to rush a throw here or rush a throw there. But you know what? He didn't get rushed that much, and he just put it right on the nose, and that says a lot of good things about that young man.
It does, and his offensive line. I thought they did a great job of protecting him, and even when we brought pressure, we had a hard time getting home to him, and that goes. I mean, they're very well coached, and they're going to pick that stuff up. But no, he did a great job, and I thought, that was a little. They did try and go the running game a little bit more in the second half because the clock was their friend. But I did think in the second half we did get. We never got home but we did knock him off of his spot a few more times that you're alluding to, and that helped us in the second half. We were able to make him, there's one play that sticks out in my mind. He was rolling out, and we kind of set the edge, and he had to cut it back across. I think he ended up picking up a yard or two, so it wasn't technically a sack, but, we pulled him off of his spot and made him pull the ball down and run with it. But, it's, our defense, I was impressed that, they got on that roll where they scored like 4 out of 5 possessions, and we had a great first quarter, not so good second quarter into the third quarter. But then, from that first drive of the third quarter on, the rest of the game, I thought our defense did a wonderful job.
Well, let's go to the third and final phase. Let's talk about special teams. One other set of points that I know you would have loved to have had on the board would have been the field goal. Short field goal attempt there for Chandler, and the wind was blowing it. He hooked it left just barely, and the wind was blowing in that direction from right to left.
Yeah.
And Chandler's darn good. I mean, he had that second game of the year, I think it was, down at South Spencer, where he just didn't kick very well. I mean, just be blunt, he didn't kick very well. Every other game this year, he's been marvelous. And as soon as we lined up for a field goal, I'm like, we got this, no problem. But, there's another 3 points. So you're looking at the difference between being within 4 or being within 9, and that can make a difference in the game. But so that's why, if there's young kids listening out there, your junior high kids are listening, hey, special teams makes a world of difference. So when you get a chance to be on that varsity field, take care of business on special teams.
Yeah, it is. And, and it's something we take a lot of pride in. And it might not have been our best night to show that, but it is. We do take a lot of pride. And I did think our kickoff team did a wonderful job. Bryce Williams stepped in, had a few touchbacks.
I got to mention that young man.
Yep.
What a leg. I tell you what, good things are coming with Bryce Williams with that leg of his.
Absolutely. And, it was a deal where we, Chandler had done a great job, but we finally got Bryce full-time from soccer when soccer season ended. And, he just continued to improve in the couple of weeks that we had him full-time. And, he was ready to go, and I thought our coverage was really good. Our punt coverage was pretty good all night. They did some quick kick stuff to us and kind of tried to keep the ball out of Caleb's hands. But overall, I thought our special teams was solid. Not great, and like you said, we did leave a few points out on the board that might have changed. Then you're not thinking two score. And that's why down 9, we obviously elected to kick the field goal that we just missed because that makes it a 1-score game.
Very much so.
And then, then on our next drive, we were really starting to – I thought we wore them out a little bit with our tempo, and our running game really took off in the second half. So if we had been able to convert that, then the next drive didn't have to be so pass-happy. We could have got on the ground a little bit more because you're just thinking 1 score instead of 2, and it kind of changes things.
Well, right now, too, and don't take it wrong. I mean, I'm pointing out these things because I want our listeners to be able to hear from you what's going on through your mind in a ball game, especially when you get in that situation, going for 2 there at the beginning. You could have taken the 1 point and then, tried to play the catch-up the rest of the night. But going for 2, you're trying to stay on top of things right off the bat.
Well, actually, we had, if you remember, it was right at the end of the quarter. And even when they scored, this is something we always talk about, so you don't have to make the decision in the moment. But we had talked about it multiple times. We weren't going to chase because I really don't believe in chasing until you have to. We kind of, if you remember, we did that in the Southridge game. We kept kicking to go up 2, where we could have went for 2 to go up 3, and we didn't do that until late in the game. So we were actually going to kick, but on the touchdown play that Chandler scored on, we saw something formationally that they were giving us that we thought we had, and we did have it. Their kid just reacted and made a heck of a play. Dylan Stefanich was wide open, and one of their kids just reacted in time and got his hand up and got his hand on the ball. So we actually weren't going to chase at that time, but when we saw what we had formationally, we decided to go ahead and go for 2.
And those are decisions that you and the coaching staff have to make literally within either a 25 or a 40-second time clock, or at the end of a quarter, you got 1 minute.
Right.
I mean, that minute can go by rather quickly when you're trying to get a lot of different scenarios going through your head, and you've got a lot of different coaches talking in your ear at the same time as well. Yep. And then you got the kids trying to tell you, hey, coach, we could do this, we can do that. Well, there's just a lot of things going on, and that's what I want the listeners to be able to hear, because all of us would love to have been down there on that sideline going up against Memorial. That was a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's just, boy, the kids played their hearts out.
Absolutely.
Can't complain one little bit about it. Do I still believe that should have been 2 or 3 weeks from now? Yes. But, hey, the IHSAA doesn't listen to me. Hey, guess what? On the other side of the river, the IHSA didn't listen to me. One less A, and they didn't listen either. So what the heck? But either way, the Titans, boy, I tell you what, they played their hearts out and gave everything to one of the best teams in Southern Indiana. And I think on another night, you can play 10 times, and it could be 5-5, 6-4, one way or the other. I think you can get that ball club more times than not.
Yeah, they're a great team, and we like to think that we are too. And I think it was obviously the two best teams in the sectional, if not the regional. Doing battle on Friday, and their kids and staff had a lot of class after the game, which is much appreciated. And I thought our kids and coaches did as well. And so we wish them the best of luck moving forward.
All right, well, Coach, we need to thank some of the underwriters of Titans football with head coach Nick Hart. And when we come back, let's take some time to talk about the seniors on this 2016 Titans football team as you are listening to 89.1 The Bash and Titans football with head coach Nick Hart.
You're listening to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash, brought to you by these underwriting sponsors: A&T Concrete Supply, Carts Gone Wild, Daylight Farm Supply, Deaconess Women's Hospital, Hobstadt Summerfest Incorporated, JL Farm Equipment, Lewis Plumbing and Heating, Mayflower Gardens and Gifts, Princeton Auto Park, Shoe Carnival, 10 Barge Seed and Turfgrass Supplies, and by Ziliak Enterprises. You love sports. You're your team's ultimate fan. Why not turn that passion into the ultimate career? Enroll now in the brand new Sports Marketing and Media program at Wabash Valley College. Learn how to use digital video and other media to add to the fan experience, how to engage fans on social media, and how to create excitement by hosting events and promotions. Get off the sidelines and into the game. Find out more about the WVC Sports Marketing and Media program online at www.iecc.edu or by phone at 618-262-8641.
Welcome back to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash. I am Bob Bowser, and joining me is head coach of the Titans, Nick Hart. And Coach, let's talk a little bit about your seniors here. 12 of them on this ball club this year. A little different than last year with 30-plus on the club, but 12 seniors this year. And I tell you, what a difference that these 12 young men made in your ball club. And I'm going to start here right at the top. We got Neon Dion Caleb Carpenter. That kid just... I'm going to give you my vantage point first. I don't know any of these kids from Adam other than getting to broadcast on Friday night, and I call their name out, and I get to see their actions on the field. But when I could tell he had that little jazziness in his step on a punt return or a kickoff return, it was on. I knew it was on, and it was going to be a long return, and I'm thinking touchdown.
Yeah, Caleb was a special kid, and a kid that kind of in his career. His sophomore year, he split time at DB on the varsity. We moved him to receiver last year, then moved him back to DB this year. And, he's a special kid in the fact that, he his first couple years was one of those kids that did what was asked of him and not much more than that. But this past year, ever after that Chittard loss and through the offseason and everything, that kid did anything and everything he could to make himself a better football player and make our team a better football player, and we're certainly going to miss him.
All right, Luke Miller, from my vantage point, Luke, he and Trace Matzel as the inside linebackers, a heck of a tandem in there. Luke had to step up in that last ball game and be the leadership for the younger sophomore taking Trace's place, but Luke, a very fine ball player that will be missed on the interior.
He is, and his story is pretty incredible. He moved to us last year, which was his junior year, over the summer. Had never played football before, so last year he played offense as we were just trying to get him used to everything. So this was really his first time ever getting to play defense and play defensive football, and he bought all in and worked as hard as he could to become a great player.
All right, our next senior we're going to talk about is Mr. B Button, Chandler McKee. Dude loves that spin, I'm telling you. We even started bringing in some other buttons on the old Nintendo Xbox, whatever that thing is called. But Chandler McKee had an outstanding senior year as a receiver. ended up helping the team out by moving to quarterback after the injury to Isaac. Kicker, punter, kind of did a lot of things for the Titans this year.
Well, you like giving people nicknames, so we'll call him Slash, and our kids won't know what that means, but the old Cordell Stewart, used to play quarterback, wide receiver, return punts, and everything. That Chandler did all that, did anything that he was asked, and I touched on it earlier. If we had a game this week, I don't think he would have been cleared to play with the injury he got on Friday night, but he gutted it out, finished the game in a new position. You can't really say enough. He was going to do anything he could to try and help the team win.
Then we go to Isaac Cox, an outside linebacker. He was also the snapper. Mm-hmm. I tell you, Isaac, very important position on a football field. If you don't snap that ball to the holder or to the punter well, everybody in the stands knows it.
Yeah, Isaac did a great job all year on special teams and as an outside linebacker. Worked really hard to make himself a good player. Is one of our best leaders, and just one of those kids you love to coach because he was excited to be there every day.
Well, and then Seth Kissel coming in as tight end on the offense. So it depends which formation. If you spread it out, no. But if you went to the tight end formation, Seth Kissel was your man you called upon.
Yeah, Seth is a really hard worker. Again, kind of a kid that we moved around a lot. Started on the D-line, then we moved him to linebacker, and then this year finally to tight end. And he did a great job. He's the strongest kid on the football team, did a great job of working really, really hard in the weight room.
Well, and then Cooper Willis. Cooper as an outside linebacker, another stalwart there on the defense in the linebacking crew as a senior.
Yeah, and Coop's another one. I think with our senior class, and the reason I like them so much is, and this is meant as a compliment, they're not the most naturally gifted athletes in the world, but they worked really, really hard in the weight room, on the practice field to make themselves good football players because they love the program, they love the game. And Cooper was definitely one of those guys. He worked as hard as he possibly could to become the best player he could be.
All right, another senior, Austin Ziliak. Austin made the big play in the Southridge ball game, trailing from the left side of the defensive line and coming right down the line of scrimmage, falling in behind the pulling tackle, and made the big play on the fourth down stop.
Yeah, it was a huge play, and Austin's a kid that moved to the defensive line this year from linebacker and had a tremendous year, and I thought really got better as the year went along, and then he didn't play probably as much in the sectional game. He sustained an injury in practice leading up to that Memorial game. He was still cleared to play, but was definitely not 100%. So we hope he heals fast. But again, just a kid we're going to miss because he worked really, really hard to make himself a good football player.
All right, Hunter Mike Rance.
Hunter is a kid that came to work and practice every single day and practiced really hard and helped make everybody else better. And he's a wonderful kid, wonderful student. And we're surely going to miss him.
All right, Chris Campbell. You know what? I'm going to bring these three guys in together. It's kind of like a brotherhood here up on the offensive line there. Chris Campbell, Dakota Weiss, Dylan Bennett. Those three names I caught often up there on that offensive line. Boy, I tell you, they've done a fantastic job this year blocking, not only for the running game, but also for the passing game.
They really did, and Chris Soup, as I like to call him, Campbell Soup. Just another one of those kids. If you look at him before, when you saw him as a sophomore, you probably wouldn't have thought this kid could play offensive line. He wasn't a very big kid, but just worked really, really hard in the weight room and played exceptionally hard. He might have been the hardest playing player that we had on our team. He gave you everything he had, every single snap, and is just a phenomenal kid. And then Dylan and Dakota, our big guards, a lot of starting experience between those guys. Very physical football players, and they've been the guards for the past couple years, and definitely going to miss those guys on the interior.
Well, and you're talking about big guys here, and you like to play the game a little quicker than most teams. I mean, I think that'd be fair to say.
Yeah.
You got to be in a little bit of shape. I mean, those boys are big boys, but they were up there and ready to go every time.
They were, and sometimes it was a challenge. But no, we had to. In the summer, it was a little bit of a challenge. But they did a great job of through practice and stuff, playing themselves into shape and getting used to the tempo and stuff. And they're probably a little better suited playing in the I formation or something like that. But they did a phenomenal job for us these past couple years.
All right, and the final senior here, Cameron Crawford.
Yeah, Cameron was on the kickoff return team for us, and also gave us a lot of great looks in practice and stuff. And again, another young man that just works so hard in the weight room and stuff. And Cameron's a great kid and was 100% bought in, and we appreciate everything he did for the program.
All right, Coach, any last thoughts for your senior class graduating here in 2016?
It was a small group in terms of numbers, but a group that accomplished a lot in their 4 years at Gibson Southern. They were part of 45 wins, 3 conference championships, 2 sectionals, and 2 regionals. And there's not a lot of high school seniors that can say that moving forward. So we appreciate everything that those guys did for our program.
All right, well, Coach, we got one more segment to go, which means let's take some time to talk about the returning players for next year, as well as your younger squads within the Titan football program. But first, let's thank some of the underwriters of Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash.
You're listening to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash. Tonight's show is brought to you by the following underwriting sponsors: AgriGold, Consolidated Grain and Barge, DuBois County Garage Doors Incorporated, in memory of Eric and Darwin Kalis, Kiesel Enterprises, Lowry Company, MyTech Systems, Rainbrecht Homes, Pro Rehab, DFW Post 2714, Rusty Rivas FC Tucker MD Realtors, South Gibson Grain, and by Total Seed Solutions. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. The list of social media platforms continues to grow, and so too does the value of social media to businesses. The new Social Media Management Certificate program at Wabash Valley College prepares you for a career in social media or teaches you how to effectively use social media to grow your own business. From advertising and promotion to public relations and marketing, this certificate program teaches you the ins and outs of successful social media strategy. For more information, visit www.iecc.edu or call 618-262-8641 today.
Welcome back to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart right here on 89.1 The Bash, or you may be using the free app to access the show on your cell phone. All right, Coach, let's start first of all talking about the returning players to Titans football next year. When I look on the offensive side, I'm seeing Wes Obermeyer and Nick Maurer, and there's my 4383. Dadgummit. Which one am I going to have to pay off to change a number?
Yeah, we ain't trading either one of them, so you're
no,
going to have to get them to change their numbers.
Hey, I tell you what an awesome situation. You got Obermeyer and Maurer 6'6", 6'2", and then you throw in there Dawson Witt at 6'4". I mean, who wouldn't love to throw to that receiving core right there? And then I know in this last ball game, Cody Hupp was in there as a sophomore. Mm-hmm. So you've got a receiving crew coming back. You've got Dylan Stefanich at the running back. Isaac Sellers, hopefully he had a good surgery last week and hopefully will be fully healthy and ready to get back on the football field next year. And then up front, where you're going to have to replace the most, Zach Nurnburn and Jess Robinson can come back and anchor. Sinsmeyer also. Hey, you know what? I can't read what's in front of me, but Ryan Sinsmeyer also on there. You got 3 of the 5 coming back. Holy cow. It's not having to bring in a whole new group. This is just called retooling a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of firepower coming back up front, or not up front, on offense. You look at all the skill positions, and Chandler is the lone loss out of all the skill guys. And then up front, we really started 6 guys throughout the year. Nurnburn and Sinsmeyer started every game for us, and then Jess Robinson rotated in there and started some games. So you really got 3 starters coming back on the offensive line. So it's a lot of guys coming back with a lot of game experience under their belt.
All right, and then on the defensive side of the ball, as I'm looking at it, there's 7 guys coming back that were starters in the last ball game. Devin Mills, Caleb Stiesel, Devin Montgomery, the 3 defensive linemen right there. So they're just going to get bigger and stronger, and now next year be able to really create even more havoc than they did this year. And then you've got Garrett Martin, who stepped in there as a sophomore as an inside linebacker. In the secondary, you're going to have Andrew Smith came back, played the first couple of games, was hurt, came back, started and played in the playoff game. Bailey Neufelder as a corner, and Tyler Gady as a safety.
Yeah, and then, Bo Lamy started a lot of games for us. He'll be back. And Trace Matzel started every game but one. He'll be back.
And Trace is a junior?
Trace is a junior.
Man, I thought he was a senior. No, he plays like a senior.
He does, but he's only a junior. So, you're looking at bringing 8 or 9 guys back on the defensive side that have some starting experience for us. So, there's a lot coming back on both sides of the ball, which makes things exciting for next year. And hopefully, that really kind of allows us to have a great off season because you have a lot of guys back. I think as you look past at the back, look back over the years, the more guys you have coming back as returning starters, I think the more success you have in your off-season program because those guys understand, even if they were starting as a young guy, they understand how important it is to be strong at the varsity level, and then they kind of set the tone for your off-season program. So hopefully having all these guys back can really help jumpstart our off-season program.
And the best thing to help out a coaching staff is that they have a little bit of bitter taste after exiting in the playoffs when they felt that they could go all the way. Hey, let's just get it out there. I mean, this group should have felt that they could go all the way to Indianapolis. Now, they run into a good ball club and some misfortune, but right now, hey, that's just going to provide that little bit of motivation that you and the coaching staff don't have to come up with.
Yeah, it's there. We our week, we give them a couple weeks off after the season, but the weight room is still open for guys. And we had 51 guys in the weight room on Monday morning, and none of them had to be there. So, that shows me we've got a great group of leaders coming up, and we're looking forward to having a great off season.
All right, and your JV ball club ended the season 5-3 this year. Had some big victories throughout the year. So talk a little bit about your JV squad.
Yeah, I was really proud of our JV team because we had Landon Meyer, who's not a quarterback, was just being a great teammate, stepped up and played quarterback. We lost a couple guys moving up to the varsity level because of injury and stuff. So really played most of the year shorthanded. Beat Mater Dei and had some other big wins. But I think going 5-3 with shorthanded as we were at some positions at that level, is a great sign moving forward.
Well, and then your freshman ball club ended up 8-1 on the season. 7 of those 8 wins were by shutout. That's impressive. It's
really impressive, and especially because a lot of teams in our conference don't play a freshman schedule. The one loss was to Heritage Hills. But a lot of teams don't play a freshman schedule. So, our freshman team played Memorial, Wrights, Jasper, Mount Carmel. If there's a team
North Posey JV team.
Yes, the JV team. They played Henderson County, Kentucky. We went out and played some big schools, and that's great. It makes those guys a lot better moving forward. But it's a great group at the freshman level, and they had a great year.
Well, and when they're 8-1, I know there's a lot of names out there, but obviously only broadcasting the varsity games. Hey, it was neat to see some freshmen, Mitchell Spindler, Seth DeLong, also Ben Butler. Mm-hmm. I mean, those 3 young men on that freshman ball club, they're going to be contributors for this program for the next 3 years.
Yeah, we have a lot of guys out of that group that I really think are going to contribute, and I think you look at all the returning starters you just named off. There's not a lot of open starting spots for next year. Now, again, all of them are open. Best players are going to play even if you were a starter last year, but it's tough to unseat a returning starter, but those guys are going to be big. We saw this year injuries play a big part, and you got to have guys step up, and a lot of those guys are going to be playing special teams for us next year and helping us in that third phase of the game. So there's no doubt a lot of those freshmen to sophomores to be are going to play a big role.
Well, and then you look at your 7th and 8th grade Titans. The 7th grade was 9-0. PAC champions. The 8th grade was 8-1, PAC champions, and their only loss was to Central in a 2-game week. So, boy, here's the best thing. I mean, it's nuts. 35 8th graders? Holy cow. And 23 7th graders. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of kids playing football.
That is. It's a lot of kids, and I think it's a great sign for the program moving forward, and it's a great group. And you look at the number of 8th graders coming in and seniors leaving, and that puts us over 100 kids in the program next year, freshmen through senior, as long as we retain everybody. There's not a lot of 3A teams that have that. So it's just phenomenal. And we're really happy and excited about our younger kids and the program moving forward.
Well, Coach, and while it's still fresh in everyone's mind, and it's tough to handle that loss to Memorial, you're losing 12 seniors. But the thing is, as we've just seen here in this segment, the cupboard's not bare. We're going to miss those seniors, and they did a lot of great things, back-to-back PAC champs. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, boy, the future is bright. I mean, there's a lot coming back, not only that has varsity experience, but there's a lot coming up in this program to look forward to as a Titan fan.
It really is. It's a great time in our program right now, and we're like you said, we owe a lot to those seniors. They did so much for our football program, and we're gonna miss them. But we got a lot of guys coming back next year, and a lot of younger kids that weren't starters this year that we're really excited about.
All right, well, Coach, anything else you would like to add to this week's show, as it is our final show of the 2016 football season?
Thanks to all of our fans. Last Friday, I thought it was a great atmosphere. Our fans were loud and into it, and thanks to all of our parents that do so much, for our football program, and lastly to you and Jason for covering us this year. I know it was we have some young men whose parents are different places throughout the country, and they were able to listen to their sons' football games this year, which was a really cool thing that we were able to add to the program.
Well, Coach, thank you. And Jason and I would love to thank you and your coaching staff and the players, the Booster Club. I tell you what, you've got a fabulous Booster Club. The administration, big time A+ on administration over there, and the underwriters of this coach's show and of our live broadcasts. So we have we've had a blast this year, Coach,
yes,
and
yep.
Looking forward to having a blast next year in this relationship between Titan football and 89.1 The Bash. But right now, it's time for us to shut things off for the 2016 season. As again, we would like to thank all of you for joining us here on 89.1 The Bash for Titans football with head coach Nick Hart. But before we sign off for this season, we would like to thank all of the underwriters of Titans football with head coach Nick Hart right here on 89.1 The Bash.
This has been Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash. The show is made possible by our underwriting sponsors, Ziliak Enterprises, DFW Post 2714, Vertical Tile, Total Seed Solutions, Tin Barge Seed and Turfgrass Supplies, T-Konya Distributing, United Fidelity Bank, South Gibson Grain, Shoe Carnival, Sandy's Pizza, Rusty Reeves FC Tucker MG Realtors, Reinbrecht Homes, Princeton Auto Park, Pro Rehab, Pole Concrete Construction, MyTech Systems, Mayflower Gardens and Gifts, Marshall Disposal, Lowry Company, Lewis Plumbing and Heating, Kissel Farms, Kiesel Enterprises, JL Farm Equipment, Jackson Seed Service, in memory of Darwin and Eric Kalis, Hubstadt Summerfest Incorporated, Freudenberg Mini Mart, DuBois County Garage Doors Incorporated, Deaconess Women's Hospital, Daylight Farm Supply, Cox Family Eye Care, Consolidated Grain and Barge, Carts Gone Wild, Gerald and Trudy Bledsoe, AgriGold, A&T Concrete Supply, A&B Contracting, and by Wabash Valley College.